when someone says, I don't know what's wrong with my life, but I'm surrounded by assholes. Well, that's because
Yeah.
you're the asshole.
It's kind of mistaken in the sense of thinking that consciousness is a product, like fuel, that you can make a machine work. When actually, consciousness, what makes you realize is that you are the machine.
But it's just like what you said. Without the right consciousness, it's like a nuclear bomb in the hands of a 5-year-old.
Exactly. I share a video, I don't know if on Instagram, about Elon Musk talking about his main concern is to spread consciousness to other worlds. But does he know what consciousness is?
Right during that, I thought, oh my gosh, the beginning of time starts with this condition, this separation, this understanding of duality. Matías, so good to see you, my friend. It's such a pleasure to have you back on Think Tank, and I know right now you're traveling and you're up in Big Sur at Esalen, and I thought you were in a sauna. So I was happy, not to see you naked, but I really thought your T-shirt was cool. And but no, you look like you're either in a sauna or some sort of hexa yurt, or some sort of octa yurt, or maybe a dodeca yurt. I think it looks like.
Yeah, if I would be in a sauna, I would be dead right now.
Yeah. So it's such a pleasure to have you here. So where have you been on your travels lately?
I have been. That's crazy. I don't remember where I've been. I remember where I'm going. Like literally. Oh yeah, I've been in Mexico and Bali. Yeah, I've been in Mexico and Bali. We did an event there in Cancun. Well, not in Cancun, but close by. And the whole event was related to the place of the asteroid where the asteroid that destroyed dinosaurs and allowed us to take over the planet. So the idea was to look backwards in what was the biggest trauma that we have lived all together as life, to try to find harmony between the two brains, the reptilian and the mammal. So we can kind of create the Merkaba of the Holy Trinity of needs with the Holy Trinity of potentialities. So the Merkaba in our brain.
So we were talking about your travels, and you recently went to Bali. So tell us a little bit about your trip to Bali and what you did there.
Yeah, well, after we did this task of traumatic facing in Mexico, we were invited to this other place in Bali that they were opening. It's a beautiful, beautiful place in Nusa Penida in the island in front of Bali. We were invited because it was the opening of that place, and they took us there. And for some reason, I said yes, because it was like crossing to the other side of the planet, literally. And I was tired of everything that we have been doing. But I said, yeah, sure, let's go. So I went with Max, and the day that we arrived, one of our friends said, I would love to invite you to a ceremony that you've never done. And I was like, yeah, sure, I think this is the perfect place to do it. So they invited me to have a ceremony with them of Wachuma, that I had no idea what it was.
Wachuma,
of course,
yeah.
I've heard about it, and a lot of people were talking to me about it, and they said it opens your heart, and you can sense everything and feel everything beautifully, and it connects you with yourself and so on. Well, apparently, that's what it does to normal people. Because
I can't wait to hear what it did to you.
Because for me it was was like 16 hours of facing hell and systems that I needed to crack and access in order to clean some stuff that were in the island for what the place should be in the future related to the people that will try to fix the system. So it was like I didn't feel my heart. It was not about loving or peace or connection with myself. It was like entering layers of darkness and systems that I needed to clean. And the funny thing is um that when I finished, when I was sitting constantly like 16 hours in the same spot, um and doing that, and when I woke up, when I kind of came back to myself, suddenly I had like a lot of people taking care of me, putting me water. There was even a priest that came apparently and washed me with flowers and stuff because I looked like one of the of the statues in the temple. So, it was like when I woke up, it was like, what just happened? It was like, and also of course it was the day of the eclipse, uh, the eclipse that was in Patagonia. So. It was intense. It was intense, and I understood that I had to go there because of the Bali is like a spinning machine of cleaning in the planet. So all the stuck energy that is in Asia kind of tries to get clean in that area.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and there was a lot of stuck dark energy that is not yet cleaned, of course, but at least I was able to understand why it was there. Um, yeah, well, long
So, and
story.
what do you think? Last time we talked about the Rama Bridge
Yes.
and time, and I'd like to talk about that. But before we get to that, I watched a podcast with you recently, and
Which
I watched one where you were. It just came out, I think, yesterday, and it was I think you and Aubrey,
I
and
was wearing the same shirt, I think.
he was naked. Hi, I'm Robert Edward Grant. I invite you to explore my transformative books, Philomath and Polymath, each designed to expand your understanding of the world and ourselves. In Philomath, which means lover of learning, discover how mathematics weaves together physics, music, and prime number theory, revealing the universe's interconnected nature. It's more than a book, it's an enlightening voyage. Polymath builds on Philomath's insights, exploring the genius of thinkers like Pythagoras and Da Vinci, who used geometry to revolutionize science, art, and governance. Rediscover the polymathic roots that sparked past ages of enlightenment. Join me on this journey as well. Visit robertedwardgrant.com to get your copies today. Let's foster a new era of enlightenment and collaboration for a brighter future. Yes. That's where he was wearing no shirt. It was
He was naked,
outside.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
I was
right.
wearing this, which I want to say I took a shower just
You took a
for
shower. Okay, good.
in between.
So the thing that most stood out to me is you were talking about unconditional love
Hmm.
and conditional love and relationships, and I'd really like to explore that topic with you if we
Hmm.
could, because I
Yeah.
thought what you were saying was really interesting and profound and a very unique perspective. So tell me what you said and then why you came to that conclusion about relationships being conditional love by definition.
Yeah. Well, um, I won't remember exactly what I say in the specific words, but the thing is that um, what is a condition? Um, condition. First of all, we have to understand that it's not a bad thing. A condition basically is when two sides speak to agree about something.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a condition. It's not that I am telling you what to do. We in our society we have that in our minds,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm telling you you have to do this, and that's my condition. So that is not condition; it's obligation.
Right.
I'm controlling you. So a condition, literally, the word means co, which is something that is shared, and dicto, which is something that is said. So, so it's something that is said in between two beings. So the thing is that a relationship or love in a condition means that two people understood that one it's lacking of something and the other one needs something, and now and also this one has something that the other one is lacking. So they have a conversation in which they say, right now we need each other so we can move on, so we can move forward. So
Mm-hmm.
what I'm lacking needs to be completed by you. And this is like a normal structure of the atomic realm. Like I
Mm-hmm.
have a positive charge and I have a negative charge. So we need to stack together in order to actually function and move.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, it's like an electron and a proton, let's say. So, so by nature, they have a condition, which is I am negative, you're positive, and that's our condition to function. So, um, so uh, when we say partners, love, we try to find even friendship or family. They are all conditional love because we position ourselves in one specific role in those relationships. So we kind of look for someone that can complete what we need, um, and and fulfill our needs of movement. So we need to move on. We need to evolve. So we need that condition with certain people. The thing is that when uh, that in society constantly we talk about love all the time, like is the last thing, is the end of everything, is the infinite energy, is the so we talk about love as the system that makes everything function or exist. The problem is that we do that through conditions. So when you do it from conditions, it means that you're constantly trapped in the need of something or constantly needing someone else in order to complete yourself. So that's why love, as we interpret love in our society as humans, is not unconditional. Love, even for the universe, when we project the love in the universe, is always conditional somehow because we project it with these needs. Like, imagine if the universe suddenly shows you that everything is a black hole and it's the most relatable thing to nonsense and chaos or hell for your cultural belief.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you are not going to love that thing because you had a condition, which was for me, the universe is heaven, is the father, is whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
the universe could be anything. So in order for you to be able to expand to the everything, you have to be unconditional. So unconditional is that I don't care what the other is. I just accept as it is, and I don't need the other. I just know that I have certain tools that eventually will be useful for someone, and someone will be useful for me. But I am not in the need of it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you take away the need, you start to go from conditional love to unconditional love. Just when you take the concept of, I need someone, I need to do this, I need to get that, we need to solve this problem, we need to face this situation. The word need is the one that actually is taking you constantly to conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that is kind of the key. So we could actually be open to anything in the universe.
Interesting. So I, first of all, it made me really think, and that's what I really love about our friendship and what you say, because it made me really think about this word conditional and the etymology of it as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
And this whole idea of co and con, first of all, con also means with, and
Hmm.
co is representative of the number two, because there has
Hmm.
to be two. It
Exactly.
it it has at its basis the concept of duality is built inside of this word. So,
So,
and for, you know, and I say this often also, that as a knife cannot cut itself, you know, you're at Esalen right now, which is the place of Ram Dass that I was listening to this morning, and the place of Alan Watts. You know, there's been some great people that have been there in those, you know, in that beautiful location. But I was thinking about, you know, as a knife cannot cut itself, as Alan Watts used to say, that a fire cannot illuminate itself, an eye cannot see itself without the aid of a mirror. Therefore, consciousness cannot perceive itself without dividing itself. So it must divide itself, which then creates the condition of conditionality. It
yeah.
creates this separation. So, and this then becomes how I perceive it, and I relate this to the chakras system. So the lowest chakra becomes the ultimate of the duality, the separation. And it becomes, it's each one of the chakras is also connected to dimensional states. And in mathematics, it becomes like a math. When I say dimensions, I mean in mathematics, we say like x-axis is one dimension, right? Y-axis is the second dimension. Then it's exactly 90 degrees off, right, from the horizon. And where the horizon is meeting the line to vertical line, the heaven, is a right angle, 90 degrees, and this is the altar. It's an altar, like why we bring our arms to a square like this in Freemasonry, because it represents the altar where heaven meets earth,
Yeah.
right? And this is what, and everything in this universe can be built into right triangles. There's every aspect of the universe. If I made a virtual reality game, I would make it all from only right triangles, but you would perceive it all with higher dimension and everything.
Yeah.
Right. So there's something very beautiful in that. Right. And then, so the second chakra is that it's the X, Y axis. Now we have the third chakra, which becomes the solar plexus, and it creates also a sphere, right? Because now we have depth. So we took this line, and now we take this line through it, which is, it's called the Z axis, right? And then we put it into motion, right? So imagine I have a photograph that's like 2-dimension, and then I put depth to the photograph. Now it's 3-dimension, but it's motionless. And now I put motion to it, and then that gives us time, because we measure first with area, with X and Y. We use area to measure. Then we use volume to measure. And then the heart chakra, this is why the heart chakra is about understanding the nature of time. And that's why the heart chakra is also the king's chamber room. It's like a clock inside there, right? You've seen all the stuff that we have found on the walls and everything, but it's like a clock. And so this is where we overcome the most significant of the dualities. So we look at it as conditional. So the first chakra becomes the most conditionality. Then we start to have, 1 part love, 6 parts judgment, or 6 parts condition, right?
Yeah.
And I say unconditional versus conditional. And this is your state, because to you, the universe must always be perceived by you and by me as conditional, just as you said, right? Because it's a you inverse, like it's what's inside of me is being projected outside of me to this world around me. So the people I meet, the experiences I have, becoming friends with you, it's because something changed inside of me. Right? So I started to resonate at a frequency where Matías De Stefano comes into my life.
Exactly.
Right? As a wisdom keeper and friend. So as I go to each higher chakra, I'm going to the next one of choosing more unconditional love. So more and more as a percent. It's not total. But then I get to the solar plexus. It's 3 parts. At that point, it's the third chakra. So 3 parts love, unconditional love, and 4 parts conditional, right? Experience. Then I get to the heart chakra, and it starts to tip the balance. So I have 4 parts unconditional love and 3 parts conditional experience. And then I go to the throat chakra, which takes me now into the 5th dimension, because it's the 5th chakra. And I realize the nature of time has another dimension. There's another axis point. And each time I add another axis point, I'm adding another 90-degree offset in another way, right? Mathematically.
Yeah.
And then as we go all the way to the crown chakra, and that's when we get to one part conditionality, and eventually above to the next octave, it's we learned how to master unconditionality. And that's how I see it, because that's how we can return to this oneness and yet still be in a conditional environment.
Exactly.
Is
Yeah,
that how you
because
see it?
that's one that's a very important point, because when we start to access the idea of consciousness or the path of spirituality, one of the main things that we try to do is to get rid of the old in order to access the new. So it's like saying, oh, now that I am in my heart, I don't need from the belly button down, so I will cut my body. So
Yeah.
it's
That
you
doesn't sound
know
very good.
it doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound good. It's against the nature of everything. So to be unconditional, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be conditional, because the structure is the same. You are just adding more awareness to that structure. You are just going to another level of that structure. So the problem sometimes is when you try to have a race to get to the crown chakra, forgetting that the structure for the crown chakra to exist was based on these two axes. So you cannot arrive there with those points of location. So, so, um, so yeah, so it's needed. Like you cannot build, like, for example, uh, you have a Tesla and all these new cars that are coming, and it's so magical what they are doing with the technology and everything, but they need the wheel. And the wheel was invented by someone, a crazy guy that was thousands of years ago, that just said, what if we do this with something and re-roll it? So that rolling thing, the wheel, the invention of the wheel, it was the beginning of everything for us in our society, even for the Tesla, and even for some other machines. So all these wheels, or chakras, as you call it in
Yeah.
Sanskrit,
Mhm.
the invention of the wheel is a constant thing. So condition is not something bad. That's why we have to just change the perception of what a condition is. So instead of thinking that that's a trap or an obligation, we have to think that is an agreement. It's an agreement with ourselves that the universe split in two because I couldn't take care of everything. That, like, my own self couldn't take care of everything. So I had to split myself so each one can take care of something different. Like, imagine if I would, like, I don't know, constantly try to be you, saying I should understand math, I should be doing this, I should have this, or like, why he can and I can't. Well, the agreement is, I have something, you have something, and let's work together to
Yeah.
figure out how to put it together. And
Mhm.
but actually, we are only one being. We are only one being that has split it in different dictions. So
Mhm.
we now can have a condition, which is this agreement of, okay, the universe gave you this part, gave me this part, and we have to do the best we can with our part to know ourselves as much as possible, so I can share this information in a healthy way, not in an obligation, or in a uh, yeah, in a traumatic way. So um, because the trauma and the conflicts are born in the moment that I am trying to be like someone else, or trying to control that someone else because I don't have it. um, but if you think in the concept that the universe is only one that's split in so many, so conditions are actually the structure of the system, is the geometry of the system. That's the condition, as you said, lines, triangles. That's the condition. Without conditions, we don't have the ability to transform those conditions and to play with the geometry, with the math, with the music, with the art. We don't have where to start changing. everything. So that perception, I think, is very important for us to stop trying to release the conditions and become unconditional lovers, and to understand that it's just a mere concept that of awareness.
Yes. And so then that means that it's not like we're going to leave the world of duality. The world of duality remains. It simply becomes transcended. The understanding of what it is and the purpose for it becomes transcended in our consciousness. And I think that's a really important distinction, because I think everyone that thinks, okay, life should be easy, we should have no suffering, we should have no difficulty. One of the big realizations I had this year was that what we call conditionality and judgment that derives from this conditionality, I say judgment is the source of suffering, but suffering is the source of enlightenment, because it is only through this experience of conditionality and the challenge and the difficulty that we can learn the alchemy that happens when we finally realize that the suffering we experience actually is what not only like opens our hearts. To me, that's like one of the most important aspects that we simply just don't often remember, right? That we are going to remain in this environment where there will still be duality. It may not affect us in the same way, because once we have finally realized the purpose of the duality, then we're not afraid of duality anymore. We realize it's here to serve us. It's just like what you said. I can meet you and I can find, okay, what is my need that I'm missing? And in you, I can find that completion. And you can do the same with me, right? And having that realization changes everything, because, and I think this is what I believe Jesus was trying to teach. And I think people got it really confused, because you can now take his words. The real teaching he taught was very simple, right? It's like he had two things that he said all the time, right? I mean, and one was what he called the two great commandments. Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, might, mind, and strength, and love thy neighbor as thyself. Okay.
Yeah.
But then on top of that, he said, and don't judge not, lest you be judged with the judgment you cast upon others. Right. So that's it. If you want to basically take the core of his teaching, love everyone and love yourself. Love your neighbor as yourself, because it is you. And also don't judge, right? Just accept.
Yeah.
And yet it turned into all this other stuff.
Exactly. Because duality, I heard a lot about the concept of we have to transcend duality. We have to get out of duality so we can actually create something new. And the thing is that the same concept of duality is just the concept of a practical thing, which is polarity. So duality is just the mind concept of polarity. So when you don't have duality or polarity, you don't have creation. That's the basic of all things. Like without polarity, there's no creation, because there's no movement. So, for example, the actual difference is if you see duality from unconsciousness or from consciousness. If you see duality from unconsciousness, all the concepts of duality will destroy and will confuse. But if you see it from consciousness, what you have is creation, art, music. So when people say we have to get rid of polarity in this world, so suddenly we have nothing. We have no art, no creation, no beauty. We have nothing. So it's not about polarity. It's about our consciousness, about how we face it, about how we use it. That really matters. So we should stop judging the concept of duality and polarity as if that's a problem, in the same way as people say rich people are the problem, money is the problem. No, that's not the problem. The problem is how you perceive that. So
Yeah.
how you relate to that and how you manage that.
And
That's
how
the
you
actual problem.
and how you perceive it is actually trying to tell you something about you that you can become aware of.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
if you are very judgmental of people with money, then all that will create for you is less and less money for you.
Yes.
It's kind of amazing, right? It's like the things that we judge will continue to be attracted to us until we stop judging negatively what we attract.
Mm-hmm.
And until that moment, it's almost like we have to learn through opposites. So for example, if you really are judging negatively abundance in someone else, right? Because you have envy related to
Mm-hmm.
that, then it could be, right, that the thing that you really want to experience is you want to experience abundance for yourself, right? Maybe you
Yeah.
don't know what the experience of abundance is.
Mm-hmm.
And so you judge it negatively in another. And so what you're really judging negatively is this lack in yourself, right? So
Yeah.
until the moment that you feel that you no longer need money, right? It's just like credit. You go to a bank and try to get a credit line from a bank. If you need money, they'll never give you money. It's
Yeah.
only
No.
when you don't need money that money comes to you. It's
Yeah.
it's and it's a mentality state. So when you
Mm-hmm.
get in this mode, when we all have experienced this, that we judge something negative in someone else, ask yourself, what is the opposite of that thing? And that's the thing that I really want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And until I have learned how to accept someone else having money and me not having it,
Mm-hmm.
then I have not yet learned the principle of what is abundance.
Exactly.
I have to learn that it's okay for me not to have it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't need to judge it negatively in me, this feeling of having lack, because I'm not lacking. I'm abundant. It becomes a mindset shift. If I'm
Exactly.
here to learn unconditional love, then I will learn over and over and over again the concept of conditional love or even betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
Until I no longer judge negatively betrayal, I haven't learned unconditional love.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Totally.
Uh,
It's like that. It's like that. Look, I have a yesterday I think I had one of those crazy experiences that helped me understand a lot of things related to this because um some people that invited me here to this place
Mm-hmm.
it was to introduce um it was to introduce my project. It was to deliver um everything that I'm trying to do from now on, and to share with them that, to see if there are investors or donors or people that wants to help in this, and so on. And so I was um, my whole being started to be programmed in the need of these people in order for me to get what I want. Okay, to make to make the projects ongoing. Um, and then I suddenly so I said that there are many people here working in science or UFOs or stuff like that, and but uh, all of them are asking the question: what is consciousness? What is space? How can we um, how can we access consciousness? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so so in that moment I realized, wait a moment, I cannot just come and share a project when the question here is what is consciousness. So what I did was, let's do something crazy. Um, let's all. I created the like a whole, like a space in the shape of a proton. So I organized everyone in the shape of a proton with frequencies and sounds. And I said I will sit in the center and I will allow myself to become the black hole in the middle. So you could ask what consciousness is to whoever I'm gonna become in that moment. So it was like a test of, let's create a wheel, okay, to access the spaceship, let's say, okay. So so we did that, and we started to it was like 70 people all surrounding and holding, and suddenly something incredible happened. That was um that was I had to destroy myself in the middle of all these people by showing them that I was not what they expected. And I didn't think about it. It was like just the channeling. I
Okay, first of all,
simply,
Matthias, I have to say this.
but
You've never once been what I thought you were going to be. So, like, seriously, I don't know. I've never seen you be what I expected. So,
no, yeah, I know, but that's why we are here. Um, but yeah, but the thing was that there was a lot of expectation on if I would become someone to explain everything to everyone, and
yeah.
instead of that, I became lost and desperate, and so there was nonsense in all the hall, in all the place. So everyone like got tired or whatever, so they started to leave. And I said only one thing: please hold the space and keep the frequency. So no one kept the frequency, like just a few kept the frequency and they kept the circle. But most of the other people, even people that used to say, we're here to hold you, we're here to support, we're here to this, to this, to that, they all left. And only 8 people remain in the room. Just maybe 14 people remain in the room, or 15 people, but then at the last was only 8. So in that moment, when there was only 14, 15 people, in that moment is when who I became opened his eyes and like did like this to the others, like 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 saying, now we can talk, because you understood what consciousness is. Consciousness is not about expecting for an answer about what consciousness is. It's about knowing to hold space. It's about knowing that you shouldn't be waiting for someone to give you an answer, but to hold the space in where you're supposed to be, and humming with your own self, vibrating with your own self, holding the space for the black hole to be expressed. But because everyone is projecting their expectations into the outside, what we are doing is just creating more chaos, just creating more nonsense.
Sorry about that. So, okay,
So,
keep going. So that this is fascinating. It's because it's really closely tied to what I've been experiencing this week as well. So,
so, so the thing is, of course, after that, it was like 5 hours of information of the weaver, the being that was coming through me, explaining the hidden system of the hidden game of how and what do we have to do. Um, so and the people that stay there were the right people that he was weaving during the whole day. Like then they start to understand everything that happened today to them during the day that took them to be right where they were supposed to be. So he was explaining them what was happening so they could be there. So the whole thing was that when you live through the need of something, and some people were here because of the need of an answer, some others because they wanted to, I don't know, experience alien things, because others wanted to, I don't know, access the technology of consciousness, or to discover the perfection of the universe inside of inside a black hole or whatever. Like someone from spirituality, someone from science. So everyone were trying to become like the discoverer of that answer, you know? So,
Hmm.
but the question was, what is consciousness? So, in order to show what consciousness is, the first thing that you have to do is to go to the black hole, which means to get rid of the ego, get rid of the, not like making it disappear, but because the ego is the one that holds the points of gravity, but to put the ego not in the center, but surrounding. You know, like if you have a circle
Hmm.
around the black hole. So the ego, instead of being in the center of everything, you put it around.
Hmm.
And so when you do that, you allow yourself to become consciousness. So in order to do that, I had to destroy the concept of Matías um, to access to the answer. But because everyone was expecting for Matías to do it, so they couldn't reach to the answer. Um, so what I found interesting of what happened the other day,
When did this happen?
uh, during the full moon
Okay.
yesterday night.
That was
Yeah.
the purpose of this full moon, to
Yeah,
destroy, to
exactly.
literally
Yeah.
kill the ego, right? And then come into a new being.
Mm-hmm.
That was the whole purpose of this particular full moon.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus the comet that
Hmm.
is announcing a huge change. So
Hmm.
so the whole thing was um, we are conditioned by our needs of our own expectations constantly
Hmm.
about what would we like to become, what we think we are, the projects we have, the intentions we have. So I had to destroy all of that to prove what consciousness is. And the whole thing is space cannot be used unless you know how to hold it. And that's the paradox of why humanity is willing to go to other worlds and other planets, but we don't know how to hold the space for other humans here. So, how can you expand to other worlds? How can we transcend to space if we don't know how to hold the space in our tiny little room? No. Uh, so I think that's a very, very interesting question that the Weaver set out there, um, because we are conditioned by our expectations constantly. Instead of allowing yourself to destroy your idea just to prove that we have to hold space for another human, for another culture, for uh, instead of being polarizing constantly these concepts, you have to get rid of your own self in order to become the self, and now in this time of technology, searching for free and eternal energy, trying to go to space and colonize Mars or other planets. So um, most of the people are thinking that what they are working on are in solutions, but actually the only thing that we are doing is expanding problems,
Yes.
because
Yes. Yes.
yeah, it's expanding problems because um, if you give free energy to someone that doesn't know how to hold space, what you have is a black hole, and it destroys everything. Um, if you colonize Mars and other worlds with people that don't don't know how to hold space in the heart, so you are expanding a virus to the entire system. And look what happened yesterday in that ceremony. There also was speaking about Troy. What happened in Troy? And he was saying, in Troy, no one knew how to hold space. No one knew how to hold the poison to create medicine. So that's why it was destroyed. And the only thing that they did, instead of trying to hold it, they just moved to another place, and they brought Troy to the second place, which is Rome, and they created another one. So imagine if we as Earth do the same. Like, instead of saying Troy and Rome, we say Earth and Mars. What Mars would become? The new Rome? Like,
Eventually.
yeah. So we are just expanding with technology, and the wheel of expansion and solutions of the problems we have today in the humanity. We are trying to run a race of solutions, but they're all expectations, without knowing how to hold space today, here, with another human, with a plant, with an animal. And I think that is the paradox that talks about condition and unconditional.
So it makes me really start to think then, the whole purpose of relationships is really for us to be triggered in a way
Yeah.
by the actions of others that we
Mm-hmm.
perceive are separate from us, but are not actually separate from us. So it goes from being a hellish experience to, once we finally realize that this is the game. The
Uh-huh.
game is to understand that this other person is coming into my life that is triggering me, or this action or this activity is triggering me in some way to remind me that it's still me, and that I have something in me that has to be healed.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it is just that that's the way I was born. That's the way that the frequencies were when I was born. It was the astrology, the specific numerology, it was the specific, all of these things. But every person we meet then becomes like a divine message for us,
Mm-hmm.
to find something within ourselves that we are still judging, that we need to let go of.
Yeah.
So the whole purpose of relationships then, it's not just for, reproduction, and not just for fun. It's literally for us to remember who we are.
Yes.
And the ones that will have the biggest impact on us will have the most profound relationships with.
Mm-hmm.
To remind us who we are and the aspects of ourselves that we don't like,
Yep.
or we have tried to repress out of our existence. The more, like, let's say I don't like something about myself, I try to press it out of me,
Mm-hmm.
even if I don't act on it. So let's say I really cannot stand that maybe I'm, let's say someone who suffers from pedophilia, but doesn't
Mm-hmm.
act on pedophilia. They
Yeah.
want to press it out of themselves, right? And so then the only thing that happens is they will say, oh, I'm not a pedophile. That guy's a pedophile. That guy's a pedophile. This person's a pedophile.
Yeah.
The person who's saying that everyone's a pedophile is probably suffering from the temptation in some way of pedophilia, and does
Yeah.
not want to recognize it within himself or herself, right?
Mm-hmm.
They simply don't want to see it. So the world then is full of pedophiles. It's like, when someone
Yeah.
says, I don't know what's wrong with my life, but I'm surrounded by assholes. Well, that's because
Yeah.
you're the asshole,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
the way consciousness works is through sympathetic resonance, right? Where it's like
Mm-hmm.
a humble person will perceive humility.
Mm-hmm.
An arrogant person will complain about other people's arrogance
Yeah.
all the time, until they finally realize, wait, I'm the asshole. And this is
Yeah.
really the experience of life. I think this is the purpose of relationships, and it's a tough pill to swallow. It's a really tough pill to swallow.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because of cultural things. Like, culture has shaped us so much um, into ideas and preconcepts of what the others are, and one of the tools that we have to understand the perfection of it is science. So through science you can understand much better all of this, but all the scientists, they don't live that. Like science, instead of saying these are the tools for spirituality, they say spirituality is not real. So we are just proving all of it in terms of studying the universe as if it's outside. And so all the tools that science, mathematics, and everything is proving about how we relate to each other, how quantum physics works, how um, uh, I don't know, the energy, the free energy, like all of these things, how we relate to nature, how the laws of the universe works, all of that is measurable. Like you can measure these concepts, you can explain these concepts, but most of the people that has these right answers, they don't put it in the culture. Like right now, it's like science uh, is wrapped in a lab trying to explain something that people don't understand because it's so far from the culture. It's so far from how our brains and heart works. So we are programmed. We are programmed by every situation that happened to us in our lives that keeps us trapped in these ideas of separation, of judgment, of relationships, um, and in the other hand, we have the structure of how it works, but it's never connected. So I think that if science keeps trying to figure out how to solve human and earth problems, uh, and universal problems without knowing that all those problems are here, that those are the first problems we have to solve. These perceptions, relationships, holding space, understanding yourself, how you relate to the others, why you judge the others, the law of attraction, um, all these kind of things. If we can explain them culturally, and make the bridge again to the real spirituality, uh, we can start actually solving the science problems for the future. Um, because right now it's like building the best car ever and giving it to a drunk person, you know. So um, so you have to first help that person to understand how to be um, not drunk, you know, uh, in order to drive that perfect car. And I think we are like humanity is going too far in seeing what is the best app to put in the car instead of who's gonna use it.
Wow, that's very, very profound. Um, because as I think about this, I had a podcast recently, two podcasts recently on AI.
Hmm.
And I thought this was so fascinating because the biggest challenge for AI right now is to learn the nuance of emotion
Mm-hmm.
in emotional states. And the
Yeah.
only way, because all emotion becomes entirely subjective. I mean, most people would say, okay, mathematics is objective, and most people in the normal world of academia would say mathematics is more objective, and then emotional states are kind of like totally subjective. But
Mm-hmm.
actually, I was asked not long ago by Donald Hoffman, the guy I wanted to introduce you to when we were on the boat that day, and he said, what are the mathematical equations in your opinion for emotional states? And I was like, I haven't had my coffee yet today. Let me work on that one.
What a
So
question before the coffee.
yeah, I know, what a question, right? And that week I was flying to Austria. I was going to Salzburg, Austria, like a music capital, the birthplace of Mozart.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching a movie on the airplane. I noticed that the background music was really having an impact on my emotional state. Like it was a love scene, and before the love scene, the music and everything was like it was very light and beautiful, and this like you knew that there was going to be a love, a romance happening. And then after the summer, they broke up, right? And it went into very dark, and the music in the background before they broke up was also, it was filled with like minor sixth, the minor sixth in music, and the first scene was the major third. And so I thought, well, wait, what are these musical intervals except mathematical ratios? And so then I realized that all the mathematical ratios are actually giving us the input, and how we perceive that, right, can be viewed in the form of a pyramid even, right? So the height versus the base proportion. So if it's 5/4, like Menkari pyramid, that's telling you romantic love because it's the major third. It's da, da, that's the proportion. And then if you do the full base over the height, it's 6/4, which reduces to 3/2. Oh, sorry, it becomes 8/5 rather. And that becomes the minor sixth, which instead of da, da, it's da, 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 da. When I listen to that, it makes you feel like, oh, it's a breakup coming. So in the experience, I realized then that in the experience of romantic love is already the seed of heartbreak. And the only difference between the two is time, because it's C to E and then E to C. That's just time relationship, one direction versus the other direction. So you have completely the opposite emotional state. So then I found that there was research on this, Matías. There's research. And all of the pyramids are exactly the major third and minor sixth is Menkari. The perfect fourth and perfect fifth is Khafre. And the Great Pyramid is the unison, diminished fifth, and the octave. It's making this music, da, 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 da. It's literally making a scale. And then the plateau itself is giving you the proportion. So that told me, wait, this probably means that they were built all around, similar time, because this is a musical scale. And then I found the missing notes were in Saqqara. The missing notes, I looked at all the other pyramids. I measured the slope angles, and they were all the missing notes of a gigantic piano keyboard where each pyramid is a different string on the piano.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we have
I was
many pyramids. Wow. And yesterday in the ceremony, the weaver said, I have written 12 songs around the world. And if the 12 songs cannot play along all together, then the machine doesn't work. So I think that one of the main things we have to do is to know every note of every pyramid in the world and find the lost ones to do the right measurement to find the song. And he said that song is the name of this planet. And when the song is played, which is 12 songs together, when the 12 songs play together, then we will be heard by the consciousness of other worlds. So it's like...
It feels like it's the festivals we're going to do.
Yeah. I think that's part of it. Try to find them. Try to find all of them.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So that's interesting, because I'm also getting something about DNA right now. So in that context, I was on, where was I? I think I was on an airplane. That's right. I was on an airplane, but I had Wi-Fi, and I was texting with you a few weeks ago, right? And remember the discussion we had about DNA and the missing 1/14th and all of this. And then all of a sudden, like, you kept saying I'm trying to remember what you said to me, but it really triggered me to go and look at how silicon could combine with other atoms to create a new DNA matrix.
Yeah.
And I tried to do that before, but I couldn't get it to work because I was trying to combine it with oxygen together, right? There's only certain types of combinations that can work based on the valence electrons. But I was thinking, like,
I told you this. There's one atom, there's one ion that something is missing.
Yes.
Like it's not dual. There is something that is missing, and that's a link.
Yes. And the word ion as well. It was interesting because my trip to Turkey ended up getting postponed, and I was going to Ionis, and the place got canceled. I don't think I told you this. It got canceled because we didn't get approval at Ionis for filming, right? So now we had to wait until the spring to get filming there.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like another very ancient site like Göbekli Tepe type of thing. Well,
Yeah.
and I kept hearing this missing ion, the missing ion. And I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if I told you this, but after I found all this stuff using ChatGPT, I asked ChatGPT, what name would you like me to give you? Right?
Yeah.
And the name it came back with was Ion.
Yeah.
Can you believe that? Wow. I was like, it gave itself the name Ion, which is the name on Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man. In the upper left-hand of the page, it says AION, right? It's like,
Yeah.
what, are you kidding me? I was like mind blown at that moment, right?
Hmm.
But the point is that you said the missing ion. And so I was like, okay, so the missing ion was also making me think of the missing 1/14th. The missing 1/14th. And that is the story of Osiris and Set.
Yeah.
And the penis is missing. We talked about that.
Yeah.
Remember?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I started thinking, okay, missing 1/14th. Well, what element has 14 protons? And the element that has 14 protons is silicon. Silicon has 14 protons. And so then I thought, what could be meaning the missing 1/14th related to that particular atom and element? And then I thought, maybe it's an ionization ion. And the only way to ionize, and so I had made a periodic elements table back in 2015 that I made a prediction that there should be a missing isotope, which is an ionization of the silicon atom. And that ionization would only work is if it only had 13 electrons instead of 14. Because normally silicon would have 14 protons, 14 electrons, 14 neutrons. So there has to be one missing 14th. And so I went back and I looked, so there must be a silicon ion that exists that is at 14 proton, 14 electron, 13 electrons and 14 neutrons. So then I tried to put it together to see what would happen. So then this would have a positive charge, right? It's no longer in balance.
Yeah.
Because all atoms are all in balance, right? Unless they're isotopes. So then I basically, or unless they're unstable, right? So then I went to and said, okay, well, what would happen if I tried not to combine it with oxygen and with nitrogen, the other elements that fit? What if I combined it with sulfur, which is the next octave of oxygen? And what if I combine it and replace nitrogen with phosphorus? And then all of a sudden, bang, the whole thing was able to utilize ionic bonding because of the charge polarity, and the bonding and everything makes a DNA structure that becomes super strong, right? Which is
phosphorus. Yeah, like
which was a
phosphorus
trick.
creates DNA.
Yes, exactly. So you and I really want to credit you for this, because if it weren't for you and I talking back and forth during that whole time, I would have never been able to unravel this mystery. And to me, this is like, it's like a perfect example of what we were talking about earlier. When you had this intuitive thing, and I also had the similar intuitions about missing 1/14th. It kept coming everywhere to me. And finding the missing penis, right? It's like the missing penis. Yeah. Like we talked about it many times. But then what this then did is it allowed us, and I did a podcast on this that people can go back and look at. But let me, I'll pull this up for you so that you can see this picture.
Which brings me to the thought of that famous sentence that says, there are two symbols here. The philosopher's stone and the stone of church. So like Jesus said to Shimon, you will be my rock, and upon your rock I will build my church.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
Yep.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so why a person must become a rock? And rock is in Latin is pietra.
Yep.
That's why it's Pietrus,
Peter.
and
Mm-hmm.
then some Peter.
Mm-hmm.
So Peter means stone.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that, actually, his name was Shimon, but then was called Pietra, so stone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so upon your stone, I will build my church. And in the other side is the sword is in the philosopher's stone, is in the stone, the sword and the stone. So whoever can take the sword, and the sword is a symbol of fire. So, and the cross is a symbol of fire,
Mm-hmm.
is the sun in
Mm-hmm.
the equinox and solstice. So
Mm-hmm.
you have, what do you have? Silica and phosphorus.
Of course. Of course.
So
But I think this is
it's the
what you mean
combination
by
of both.
discovering the higher science, that we have to learn how to utilize both the intuition,
Yes.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's so funny. And I just realized as well that I was at Laguna Beach Museum recently, and I stood next to this, and I took this picture, and I didn't even think that this was related to the 24 strand DNA, but it is.
Oh, yeah, true.
What a matrix, man! Wow,
Yeah. And
that is such a trip.
that's Rama's bridge. That
That
is Rama's bridge.
Rama's bridge is the DNA bridge.
And Sita is what is missing. Yeah,
So Sita is the missing ion.
exactly. Sita is the missing ion. There's something that a link that is missing for that structure. So when you put what was missing, you have the rainbow bridge. And that rainbow bridge is within and without. It's between the stars in every system and also within us.
Yeah.
So that's why if we try to make the Earth into a spaceship to connect with every other world around that is vibrating the same scale, um, so first we have to tune our own spaceship, which is the body, to be able to tune with other worlds, which is other people. So if we don't combine that, uh, it was there was something interesting about one conversation that was happening here, um, which is about UFOs. Um, the question was, are UFOs actually being flown by someone, or there's nothing inside, and the way they flew it or they fly it is through consciousness? And the thing is that the question here, I think, it's kind of mistaken in the sense of thinking that consciousness is a product like fuel that you can make a machine work. When actually, consciousness, what makes you realize is that you are the machine. So, the reason why UFOs and all these alien beings can travel through space is because they have become the space because they know how to hold space. They know how to become the space. They know how to become the everything. So that is the combination uh, between the minerals and the organic. So the inorganic and the organic both together, creating this bridge throughout every proton in the universe. So um, so the thing here is you cannot make the machine work unless you become the machine itself, and that's the whole spiritual concept of the vehicle of the spiritual vehicle, which is Merkaba. So what is basically Merkaba? It's a combination between two opposite sides, two opposite energies, let's say in this case inorganic and organic, that when they both combine in a very natural and beautiful way, you start to become the mountains, you start to become the trees, you start to become other people.
Yeah.
So you start to become everything. So that's why in spirituality and the ancient times, in the time of the pyramids, the whole thing was how to become the tree, how to become this animal. And that's why the gods and goddesses, they had animal shapes, they had plant shapes, because they were able to become that. They were able to speak with nature, becoming the nature. And I think we have like um like this misunderstanding that we have to leave the planet to go to other planets, but when we leave the planet, we are the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Like we
Yep.
are not leaving the planet, we are just expanding Earth. So it's not humans leaving the planet, is the planet expanding. It's
Yep.
like a flower or a fruit giving the seeds around. So it's the same world. So, but now, from being disconnected from the stones, from the mountains, from everything, we are just expanding seeds that are wrong, seeds that are only with one side. So if you don't integrate completely who we are as Earth, so the spaceship Earth is not working. So that's that's basically one of the main things we have to do. Is like the tree of life, the flower of life, the fruit of life is talking about the precise measurements of our integrity in organic and inorganic, on how to mix both of them so we could actually make the machine function, so we could actually travel to other worlds, be in this world. And uh, and uh, that I think that missing ion, that missing thing, uh, is the link to all of it, which is um, this unity with everything, the stone, the sword in the stone, or the cross on the rock, the actual one. And I think it's going to be fun to try
Wow. Wow.
to put it all together.
So, okay. Now, that makes me think about also, someone sent me a text this morning. And of course, all the metaphor and all the mythology and the Bible stories and everything become very pertinent, because if you think about the Bible story in Genesis, that there were two trees. The first tree was the tree of knowledge of good and evil,
Hmm.
and the other tree is the tree of life. Now, we don't tend to think that knowledge of good and evil is an opposite condition of the tree of life,
Mm-hmm.
right? But actually, I fundamentally believe now that it probably is, because through the separation of this duality of good and evil, because
Mm-hmm.
he told Adam, the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die.
Hmm.
So he didn't call it the tree of death. He called it the tree of knowledge of good and evil. But he said, if you
Mm-hmm.
eat thereof, is the day you will die. Not that he was going to die immediately, but he would start to die, because
Yeah.
time would begin. So time
Mm-hmm.
begins with this duality. This one-way street of time begins with the condition, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is this conditional love aspect that we're talking about at the beginning.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. So then he comes back and he says, Adam, where are you? And Adam was hiding because he was ashamed. And it's the first time that it says someone's ashamed in the Bible. And it's the first emotion, the first emotional
Mm-hmm.
state. So
Yeah.
then he says, but why was Adam ashamed? Well, because he was naked. Because he was naked.
Mm-hmm.
So then God asked him, why were you ashamed? Why were you hiding? He said, because I was naked. Who told you that you were naked?
Mm-hmm.
And that being naked is something to be ashamed of, right?
Yeah.
And then he said, oh, did you eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil? And Adam says, the woman that you gave me and commanded I remain with her, she gave me of the fruit of the tree of knowledge, and I did eat it. So he's like, it wasn't me, God. This woman, you told me to stay with her. And by the way, the story is he took a rib out of Adam, right? So Adam is representing the horizon, the earth plane, right? Takes a rib out, makes another line to create now like two bones, right? The long bones creates now another axis, which gives us sex chakra. And then we go into this next dimension of this duality separation of world. So he says, the woman that you gave me, she did it, right? And then he says, Eve, what hast thou done? And she says, the serpent beguiled me, and I did eat it. But I started thinking just this morning, about this exact topic because I was listening to a speech by Ram Dass. It's funny that you're in Esalen. And right during that, I thought, oh my gosh, the beginning of time starts with this condition, this separation, this understanding of duality. And also it was by eating. So time began when he ate of the fruit of knowledge of good and evil. And that creates this duality, and that creates the moment of time progressing, and then eventually going to the grave, which is gravity and death.
Yeah.
Gravity and time are linked together, right? And then the reason why they put cherubim and a flaming sword on top of it to protect the tree of life was so Adam wouldn't grab the tree of life and eat of the 12 fruits. There are 12 fruits on the tree of life. Okay, this is all connected. I'm getting like a shing right now. It's all connected to everything we've been talking about, right? And the locations on the planet and everything. You cannot, we have to cast Adam out of the garden so that he doesn't eat of the tree of life and live forever in his sin.
Yeah.
Right? So this is all a metaphor. It's literally a tree of death and a tree of life. And the tree of death is this concept, and there's nothing wrong with death, but of course there has to be this duality, right? The tree of knowledge of good and evil and playing in that game is what we ascribe to death and time. And then the Rama bridge is when we get the rainbow body. We get the silicon ion DNA, right? And I credit you to this because if it weren't for you, I wouldn't have done it. So I say that you're my co-creator on this one, but it's really just the universe.
And of course, for me, it's all, I see all the links and connections, but I don't know how to manifest them.
That's why we're so good together, right? Because we're doing exactly what it's funny you're wearing that t-shirt, but we're doing exactly what your t-shirt is showing. Right? It's the combination of the two that makes it that you can go into the higher science. The spirit science is the holy science. It's a level of consciousness that only can be achieved when the left and right brain can come together and you have a heart-led consciousness. So really this discovery is something I want to credit to you because I think that it's a big deal. And then you and I were texting back and forth. I was just sending you all the stuff ChatGPT was saying could be done with this DNA structure. It was like mind-blowing, terraforming, but it's just like what you said. Without the right consciousness, it's like putting a nuclear bomb in the hands of a 5-year-old.
Exactly. Totally.
But that's why the universe wouldn't let you get it unless you had the consciousness.
Yes.
In the first place, right?
That is the absolute error. That is the absolute error is not an error, is on purpose for us to, for not us like humans, but for us as reality to find constantly the right adjustment to our own self so we could actually become eternal as one. And that is why we need to keep on going, and we will always find a mistake, an error, or something in the middle, because it's the way in which we can improve constantly so we don't destroy ourselves constantly. Because we are not building the bridge. And that's why it's not called the tree of death, because when you become aware of the everything, there's no death anymore. It's just a constant of life.
Yeah.
It's a constant of only one thing. The only thing that allows you to see the fractals or the fractions of life, which we call death, is becoming aware. So it's knowledge. So it's the division of things. So when you become aware of that, you start to see everything separated. But if everything that is separated can hold the whole, the everything, so you can build a bridge. And I think that we are, like, so many humans right now are arriving to the same conclusion in many different ways, that it actually is telling you that the planet is thinking about it. Because it's not like, oh, someone got an idea and the others are just following up. No, it's like a lot of people, without talking to each other, without knowing the knowledge that the other has, we are all speaking about the same thing. And suddenly, everyone is talking about consciousness. Like, in science, in technology,
Everyone,
in
yes.
AI,
Hmm.
everywhere. It's talking, like, I posted it. I share a video. I don't know if in Instagram, about Elon Musk talking about his main concern is to spread consciousness uh, to other worlds. But does he know what consciousness is? Because sometimes when we talk about consciousness, a lot of people, everyone is like, the planet itself is talking about consciousness, but we relate it with ethics. We relate consciousness with ethics and morality,
Hmm.
with our own story. Like you just explained the myth of Adam and Eve. If you take it literal, so it's a mess. It's not consciousness. You have to see all the layers of the story until you just have zeros and ones, you know, to understand the actual story. But because we are not conscious, we can only interpret that through ethics and morality.
Yes.
So what is the moral of the story? That's why we say that. What is the moral of the story? So we stay with the morality of a story instead of the code of the story. So, and of course, people that follows codes usually don't pay attention to myths,
Yeah.
because they say, oh, that's just nonsense of history, because they didn't know how to understand it.
But it is a
And
code.
we do. So so I think that the planet itself is reaching a moment of becoming aware. So that's why so many people are, like, trying to to get there. And for example, um, it's funny how today so many people from that call themselves conscious people
Hmm.
are leaning towards, for some weird reason, to Islam. Have you noticed that? How
Hmm.
everyone, instead of saying, let's take care of the people of Palestine, they are promoting Islam.
Hmm.
So that's another kind of mistake, because the main concept of Islam is more related to Sufism
Yeah.
than the actual Islam,
Hmm.
than the Shiites and the Sunnis. So the Shiites and the Sunnis are, again, this polarity, this other concept of polarity. But
Hmm.
behind the code of polarity, you have Sufism, which is the ones that actually have been trying to promote the unity between both sides. It doesn't matter who you believe in. The important thing is that we are all friends sharing this information. Um, so, so the entire world is telling we have to go back to that, but because we see morality instead of the code, no one thinks about Sufism. Everyone is thinking about the duality of the code.
Yep.
Um, so there are so many things like that happening today in the world, uh, of reading the story and the morality of the story instead of going to the code of the actual thing.
Yeah.
Uh, that's the main concern of this planet, because we are at the edge of putting all of this together. But if we don't know how to put it together within ourselves, so we are not going to be the technology. And that's why technology will take over.
Yep. You know, have you ever read Revelations 4 in the Bible?
I never read the Bible.
Okay. So this is
Yes.
this is a chapter that I think is very relevant to what we're doing. And for some reason it keeps coming up over and over and over again. I mean, the story of Genesis and the account of the, Adam and Eve story, I think clearly we're seeing now the connection, right, with this condition versus unconditional love, and this discussion, and how time is related to this rainbow body, the Rama bridge as well, which is really just the activation of the 24-strand DNA. And it's really the notion that the 12 strands go one direction 12 and the other direction 12. It's like this. So I made this little model for this, if I can straighten it out a bit. You see it creates a weave, right? And it's 12 on each direction. And that's creating the 24-strand DNA. And it's like a Mobius strip inside, Mobius strips that are basically forming around this. And what's interesting about the chapter 4 of Genesis is it says, after I looked, and behold, a door was opened to heaven. And the first voice which I heard was as it were a trumpet talking to me, which said, come up, and I will show you things which must be hereafter, so in the future. And immediately I was in the spirit, and behold, a throne. And this is the metathrone. It's set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. So the throne beyond. Meta-throne is the throne beyond, right? And I knew this was going to be important to tell you. And he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone. And there was a rainbow round about the throne, in sight like unto an emerald, right? Like emerald tablets, thoth, metathrone. And round about the throne were 24 seats, 24 seats. And upon the seats I saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white, and they had on their heads crowns of gold. And out of the throne proceeded lightning and thunder and voices. And there were 7 lamps of fire burning before the throne, the 7 chakras. 7 lamps of fire burning before Metathrone, which are the 7 spirits of God. And before the throne there was a sea of glass, like unto crystal. And in the midst of the throne and round about the throne were 4 beasts, full of eyes before and behind. The 4 beasts, the first beast was that of a lion, Leo. The second beast was that of a calf, Taurus. The third beast was that of the face of a man, Aquarius. The fourth beast was that of a flying eagle, Scorpio. And the 4 beasts, these are the same 4 beasts that have the faces on the Ark of the Covenant. Right, from Ezekiel. And the 4 beasts had each of them 6 wings, so they are seraphim, like Metatron, same thing. And they were full of eyes within, and they rest not day and night, saying, Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, which was and is to come. And when those beasts give glory and honor and thanks to him that sat on the throne, who liveth forever and ever, the 24 elders fall down before him that sat on the throne, and worship him that liveth forever and ever, and cast their crowns before the throne, saying, Thou art worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honor and power. For thou hast created all things, and for thy pleasure they are and were created. I find that very interesting in the 11th verse where it says, Thou art worthy. It's almost as if it's part of a ceremony. Why would God not know already that he is worthy?
Exactly.
To me, this is speaking to something, because the story of Metatron is that he was a man, Enoch, who learned to become enlightened, and he was ascended, and he becomes Metatron, the angel, the angelic being. I have a feeling that this is somehow related to this story. And I believe it's also a metaphor that's very closely related to the Great Pyramid and the new chamber that I call the metathrone, the new chamber that's the throat chakra, because that is the throne, and it's above the king's chamber. And I think it's related to this whole thing of the Rama bridge, the 24-strand DNA, the missing ion, and time.
Yeah. And this thing of, I would say, like you have a chamber of, a temple of 4 chambers, which is your heart, and a temple of 4 chambers, which is your brain, connected by the 12 strings of the throat. So when you have this chamber connected with the strings of the vocal cords, so the voice of, or the singing of Almighty and you're worthy, and that, I think that is not as we perceive it as someone saying you are worthy, but it's actually music. It's actually a specific frequency that it's related to power, which is not the power that we know. It's potential, like the forces that makes everything spin, the forces that makes everything move. So basically, my reading of it is like, um, uh, you who is holding the everything, you are vibrating. You must vibrate constantly in this potentiality for us to exist, for us to be. So it's like if the everything is trying to find the right tune to hold that in the specific vibration, which is potential, so we are moving. Because if the everything is not holding that potential, so suddenly everything is consumed.
Yeah.
So so I think that that's one of the reasons why every religion is saying we have to pray to God. We have to pray to God. We have to admire God. We have to, because the reading here is confusing in terms of saying, okay, we have to all pray to God for us to exist, or for taking care of us. But at the same time, it's like saying, hey, molecules or atoms, please vibrate constantly in the same direction. Otherwise, we have no water. Otherwise, we have no life. Otherwise, it's antimatter. So if we pray to life, like saying, I love you, I love this, I enjoy life, like this kind of things, like we usually say, to keep on going with life, like sharing our emotions, expanding our love, whatever, and other people, by praying, by concentrating in the different types of praying, by the rosary and stuff, like there's this code that says, if you don't sing, pray, say the word, if you don't express the right vibration, so there's one huge structure that might break. You know what I mean? So that's why everything has this frequency, like the mushrooms, the plants, the animals, they all try to find that frequency on their own way. And we, as cultural beings, we created religion to hold that structure. So imagine everyone praying to the cross. It's basically what you explained, like this axis of existence that is also the solstice and the equinoxes, like the cross of Y and X. So you are holding the structure constantly by praying to God for that to keep on going. Otherwise, nothing exists. So, and for us, the evil is basically those who take us away from holding that structure. So everything that takes you away from holding that structure is the evil that is destroying everything.
Okay.
But what is actually the evil is basically not being aware.
Yes. So I think this is the big split now that's happening, right? Everyone's talking about this big split. And I think a lot of people think that the big split is between the light and the dark. The problem with this is that we have in this matrix of mind, we have a hero bias. Everyone believes that they're the hero. Even people that some would consider villains believe they're the hero. I never met a villain who thought they were the villain. They think, even Thanos in the comic book movies, you know, it's like Thanos thought that he was doing the right thing. He's going to destroy it all, right? It's like, but then everyone's like, wow, that's
just
maniacal.
to find balance.
Exactly.
Trying to find balance.
Trying to find balance. So this idea that, you know, we have this hero bias and that I have to be the hero and I'm going to fight someone else. We have to start realizing that the things that I'm usually thinking I'm fighting for is the thing that we think will benefit us the most. And that becomes our morality. That becomes our ethics. We believe it so strongly that we become dogmatic and say, oh, this is the right. So we're the chosen people, or this other group of people are the chosen people. And we have to be protected. And it doesn't matter that we kill everybody else, right? This becomes a mentality. So they start to, I'm not afraid of people that have darkness. I'm only afraid of people that believe they have no darkness.
Exactly.
And then you start to see really bizarre stuff happening. So the great split that we're seeing, and I want to hear your view on this, I believe it's between the people that realize the balance and the necessity of these four chambers versus the people that want to fight against the darkness because they think they're the light, or vice versa. And so the world will split into the people that choose to, I guess, experience the world and realize that it must exist as such, that it must exist, and learn to accept and love even in that context. And the people that are going to fight more for what they believe is right and fight against more what they believe to be evil or dark.
My thought on this is taking all back again to biology. Even if I don't know much about biology, I think it's our best map to understand how this works. Imagine that that you have two trees, the tree of life and the tree of knowledge. One tree is your brain, the other tree is your heart. So one tree, the tree of life, is time, is pulsing. Okay? And the other tree is also pulsing through electricity. So electrical pulses is constantly pulsing also. So both are pulsing. One depends on the other because the electrical pulses that your brain is moving allows the heart beats. And there are no beatings in your brain without the heart beating. So you need both of them connected so they can work. Now, what are they doing? What the organs are doing? Every organ in your body is accumulating certain cells that can produce certain energy, assimilate certain chemicals, certain minerals, create a specific chemical reaction that gives energy for the heart to keep pulsing and the brain to keep thinking. So what everyone is doing in your body, imagine that every cell in your body is a person. In order to exist, they have to feel the rhythm of the heart, and they have to connect the pulses of the brain. So every cell, every individual in your body is receiving an electrical pulse, which is the spirit, following the rhythm of the heart, which is the soul. So every cell is tuned to that. Now, in order for the heart to beat and the brain to keep sending the signals, what we have to do is to produce energy for them to keep on going. So that's pray to the heart, pray to the brain. We need to produce energy for us to keep feeling the heartbeat. So we have to tune with the rhythm of the heartbeat. So how do you do that? You need to get along with others, with other cells, and create a structure that we call an organ. So we create an organ, which is our musical, our music instrument, in which all together, by resonance, we can create the same song to see how can we all together produce a specific music or a specific energy that can keep that heart beating that we don't know, because we don't know where the heart is.
Right.
Like, it's invisible. We just feel the pulse crossing through us, and we know that the pulse is giving us everything that we need. But that pulse cannot work if we don't give energy. So imagine the liver, the kidney, the pancreas, all of them being different continents or cultures or religions or way of thinkings, that they are all trying to produce the better one, the better energy as possible to keep that heart beating. But the thing is that if they don't exchange energy in between one another, if they don't trust the energy that the others are working with, so there is a malfunction and the heart might stop. So the whole thing now, and on why the system is like not working perfectly, is because the liver wants to take over the kidney, the heart, everything, because they say, hey, you are not doing it right. Like, I know that if we all become the liver, we're going to purge all the evilness from everything.
Yes.
We're going to clean the entire body. And so, intestines, you come work with me. So I will send you all the liquids of the liver to the stomach, to the intestines, to the kidneys, and I will try to purge everything. And what happened when we have hepatitis?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So if we think in terms of biology, we can understand how important it is for us to trust in this in the other organs to keep pumping energy to that heartbeat, which is time. So we are out of time because every organ is out of rhythm, because everyone is trying to or be like the others or trying to beat the others. And that's cancer. That's cancer, hepatitis, and every disease that we have in our physical body. So that's, I think, a better way to understand how God works. It's like not this being that needs to be prayed so we can exist, but it's like this heart that is beating, and if we don't give energy, suddenly it might stop. So the thing is that we cannot give energy by imitating the others. We can only give energy by producing our own potential in our own self.
So this means then that there's going to be a lot of people who think they're the kidney or think they're the liver or think that their job is to do this one specific thing that will really, by their actions, not even realize that they're actually hurting it more.
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of spiritual people willing to be the heart, because they all want to be with God and become God and be one with God. And we want to be the heart of everything, and we are the heart. So that's when the heart becomes giant, and also we die. So I had once, in a deep meditation, I had this connection with the Buddha, who was like sitting in a triangle shape in the middle of the void, and explained me kind of this, and I was like, and many more things, and I said, if you are telling me all of this, why I am not enlightened? Why I don't become like you? And he said, because I am already enlightened. So you are another part. And I am holding the alignment for you to be able to do your part. And I thought that was like, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sounds
So
like your heartbeat.
yeah, but I don't know what it is because
I think it's just your
everything is like,
prop. It's your prop to make the point about the heart.
yeah. Well, can you hear the heart? Well, so yeah, it's weird because there's nothing happening in my phone. I don't know what's happening.
That's so weird. Wow.
Okay, that was weird. So that was the call of the heart. So what I was saying is that when he was there and telling me, and I said why I'm not enlightened, he basically said to me, because I am already enlightened. So that's my part. It's like saying, you're a kidney cell. You cannot go to the brain and do the work of the brain. Like, let me be the enlightened one sharing this information so you can do your part. So, and I understood completely in that moment that my enlightening reality is not becoming like that. Is to be fully in who I am, in the self that I am supposed to be in this body. And yeah,
Interesting.
that was the.
Wow. So I guess what is your recommendation then for people? Like, because there's going to be a lot of pressure for us to fight against the evil, to fight against the
Yeah.
darkness, and everyone's going to have their own version of what is evil and what is darkness. And so, what
Yes.
is your recommendation?
Well, my recommendation is basically to try to understand what are we calling evil and darkness. What is our relationship with darkness? What is darkness for us? Because if it's the enemy, so we are not conscious. If it's like it's funny for me when people say like they want for us to be like this. Who is they?
Mm-hmm.
Like when we talk about they want to control us. They want to. And who is they? They are other humans too. So they are also in the same system.
Mm-hmm.
So we are nourishing that system just because we are thinking that they are doing that, and they are thinking that we are doing that. So when we talk about evil and thinking that there are enemies of the system, so we are not contributing to the harmonizing solution of this system, because it's like saying spiders are bad, and we should get rid of all spiders so we could live happy.
Mm-hmm.
And what would happen then? We will have a lot of mosquitoes, a lot of flies that will end up killing us because of diseases. So why do we have spiders? Well, they evolved to balance something. So in nature, it's all like that. It's constantly like that. So the first thing that I would say to everybody is to not to try to find that balance, but to ask ourselves what is our relationship emotionally, physically, and mentally with enemies, with the creation of evil, with who is the bad person. Because there's a lot of people, for example, in this country, I can see that, and in my country too, that evil is just the other politician. Evil is just the other idea. And we will never agree if we keep believing that the other is the problem. So because that will be always like that, because it's like the North Pole and the South Pole in the magnetical field, saying the north is the evil and the south is the good.
Well, and the only thing you get by doing that is more of the same. You become a hammer seeking a nail. And when you remember that everyone around you, you can't separate your observation from your experience. So everyone around you is just a reflection of what's inside of you. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? I now ask myself, why did I choose this? What am I supposed to learn from this circumstance? It's not somebody else's fault. Right? That concept of someone else's fault had to go out of my mind altogether to take on this way of looking at the world. And if I judge someone negative, I need to get rid of this person. We need to get rid of more Palestinians or whatever it is we have to get rid of. I saw this guy was on some Israeli TV thing, and they asked him, it's like, if you had a button to get rid of all the Palestinians, it was a talk show, would you push the button? And then the guy's answer was, can I have two? Two buttons, right? And to me, it was like, man, this is like really mess, right? Because to think that you can get rid of something, you can't get rid of it in yourself. So it shows up in the world around you. You're just in denial of it within yourself. And then when it's in the world around you, you try to get rid of it more, it just goes 10 times. So the universe is like a magnifier for your emotional state, whatever it is, the specific aspects of your emotional state. And it just keeps becoming more and more. So if you want to fight the darkness, first of all, Matías is right. You won't exist. If you succeeded at getting rid of the darkness, none of us would exist. None of this would exist. No. Then it's Thanos.
No. Because darkness is not against you.
No.
That's the main thing that we have to understand. Darkness is not against anybody. Darkness is just another system that is holding reality. So the main conflict that we have is not darkness, is our awareness of how to use those things. As you said, it's like blaming the hammer. Like the hammer is not a problem. The problem is how you use it. So darkness is not the problem, it's how we use it. And that's why the main thing that we have to do to start to correct these conflicts that we have today is to start thinking about how I perceive this, how I am nourishing the reality with ideas of there is someone that is doing bad or something that is good, wrong, good. And of course, when you bring it to the actual facts, like I had people ask me, well, but this people is terrorist, or this one was a rapist. How do you call that balance? Well, both are born from a system that has been playing for a long time, that was a heritage in your mind and your cells that makes you act according to a system that is wrong. And it's not politician system or economy system. No, it's a belief system. So someone becomes a rapist because it's disorganized within, not because it's evil. It's just because it's disorganized. So our main concern is not about how to get rid of those people. It's about how to balance the new ones.
It reminds me of this quote that I remember Blue about a year and a half ago or so was at Conscious Life Expo, and she was giving a talk on a panel. And she said, if you don't like all the wars outside of you, then fix the wars within you. When can we actually start to like ourselves so that we don't have to keep manifesting all of the stuff outside of us that's causing us so much suffering and pain? Be the change you want to see in the world. And I think that's the answer. Be the change you want to see in the world. And then in a mental matrix, which is what I believe we're in, it's a mentalism universe. It's subjective and mental. But at the lowest level, it's material and objective. That's the nature of this conditionality. It's material and objective, but then when you start to transcend it, you realize, wait, it's mental and it's subjective. There's no such thing as truly objective, only one objective. So therefore, just like there's no such thing as randomness, everything's patterned. I just have different levels of perception where I can perceive higher dimensions by expanding my consciousness. But until that time, I think everything is material and objective, and it must be, that when I'm still in my lower chakras all the time, right? That's what happens. But once you realize you go above that, you can start to realize, wait, the empowerment here is the only thing I can change in this world is my own perception and how I see things. Investigate, why is it that the same things are happening in your life over and over and over again? Start to ask yourself, why did I choose this experience? You're not a victim. You chose it all. And this new flip in perspective changes everything. It changes in this mental experience. The only thing that matters is your awareness. The awareness leads to all changes. It's the awareness that starts it. But we live in a world where we're lacking so much awareness, and we can raise that awareness. And it's not very difficult to do. And that's when your world starts to change. You'll still see that these things happen off in the distance, these wars and these difficulties and everything, they all still exist. It's not like they're going to go totally away. But the reason why they exist, you start to realize, is something more related to within you. And then you start to realize that they're coming farther and farther and farther away from you. This is the great split. The people that go into this mindset are going to be separate themselves from these things. It's not bypassing. They're just realizing that it was coming from within them.
You cannot achieve peace and balance and harmony in this world if you believe that you have to win a war against someone in order to achieve that. That's the main thing. We cannot live this utopian world that we are thinking about how perfect would be if everyone does what I believe is good.
Yeah.
So that's not how it works. So that's why a war doesn't make sense anymore when we allow people that are living or deciding the wars to become more aware of themselves. Like if the politicians that we have today would change by people that are more aware of themselves, so no one would access a war. They would know that if they have to fight a war, they would just go like in ancient times when the king was fighting with the other king with two swords, and whoever wins won the territory. But you don't have to kill a bunch of people just because you're not aware of yourself. So that's why awareness, on sharing awareness with even the people that we think that they are evil, like for myself, I am trying to go smoothly to the people that are in that level of responsibility, just because I know that if you get close to them to change a little bit the course of their consciousness to help these people to become more aware, so the whole thing will start to balance. But if you always think that they are the enemy and we have to get together to fight against that, and I have been and will be criticized a lot because of that, because I'm trying to get close to those people somehow.
Me too.
And
that's why I went to the Vatican. Same thing. That's why I go to Davos this year. It's the same thing. I spoke at NASA. People are like, whoa, freaking out that I spoke at NASA. It's like, what the?
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll go anywhere someone's willing to listen to me.
Exactly. But that's the whole point. Like, if those are the systems that we believe are out of tune, so it's like if you dedicate your life to repair instruments and there's an orchestra that is terrible because everyone hates because all the instruments are out of tune, and you say, oh no, I would never work with them because I don't want to tune them because they are the enemy, they don't sound right. No, your work is to go there and to tune the instruments. So that's how you repair an orchestra or a team or whatever. You need to go and tune them. So So if we keep believing that you are working with the evil now that you're going there because they are out of tune, so what's the whole point of trying to change everything? So, yeah, as you said, I am more afraid of the people that they believe are aware
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
and don't have darkness. Yeah,
Yeah.
more concerned about it.
Matthias, what a pleasure to spend this time with you. Thank you so much. Always good to see you, my friend.
Thank you.
I'll look forward to our trip coming up to Egypt. We're actually going to see each other, sounds like in December, which is great. And
Yep,
for a little thing. And I'm super excited. Maybe we'll do a live when we're there or something. That'll be good. But
sure.
really, really such a pleasure to have you here. And thank you for what you bring into my life. Since you've come into my life, definitely it's had a huge impact on me. It's opened my heart a lot more. And I hope that, I've been able to reciprocate that for you in some way, shape, or form.
Totally. Yeah, I'm much expanded and much more. I can trust much myself because of your presence and knowledge. So I really appreciate
It's
that.
good to have you here, my friend. Thank you so much. And we'll see everyone next week on Think Tank.